Good evening, everybody. Welcome into the Irish NFL show. Yes, I seen a few people saying the sound went down. I turned the volume down because it sounded very loud. It's been a loud week. It's been a difficult week. Colin Cronin, Brown O'Leary, boys, are we all sunburnt? What's the crack?
No, I was lashing on the SPF 100 like emulsion paint.
Yeah, well, Colin advised me and warned me and reminded me numerous times to make sure I kept putting sun cream on. I thought I was away with my late mother at times, but no, he did the right thing. Look, I tell you, we've gone through a day where the weather is a bit crazy throughout the country, and unfortunately, someone has lost their life because of the adverse weather conditions. And it makes it feel like a long, long time ago since we were away in the States and enjoying that lovely weather, which is normally what we get. Well, I wouldn't say we get it during the summer, but look, what a few days for us. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the new season of Gogglebox as well. It's been a great few days, Brian. Some good TV on this week as well. We're presented by Trust Gaming, Matchbook Betting Exchange, many arcade systems, and also the college, the Irish College, the Aer Lingus College Football Classic in Dublin this August. There's more information soon on when the tickets are on sale later on this year. The information is on collegefootballireland.com. No Mark tonight, which is a pity because we're going to maybe talk over a few things that happened last week. Obviously, Brian isn't referring to the new season of Gogglebox or anything that was on TV. We're talking about Vegas. Wow, talking about LA last weekend. I feel like I would have been home a couple of days, but it was a bit of a mad weekend, boys, wasn't it? I mean, Jesus. I mean, where do we start here? Like, I mean, do we talk about the Rams? Do we talk about the Sun? Do we talk about Hollywood Park? I mean, where do you want to go here with this?
I think the game probably, given how that's ultimately what it was all about, and I suppose watching it back over the course of the week and kind of seeing how it played out and little bits that obviously stood out, like the adjustments. Obviously, we'd all talked about the Bengals and the adjustments they had made over the course of second halves and in terms of the defense, but the Rams made brilliant adjustments, you'd have to say, and brought their pass rush into it. But the image that I think will live long probably in the minds of any Bengals fans will be that final play and the fact that Jamar Chase had managed to get free. He left Ramsey on the ground, but Joe Burrow didn't have enough time. And definitely, we talked a lot about sliding doors moments, and I think that will be one for those Bengal fans.
I made the point last week during the great preview show, which we had at SoFi, that just because you're in the Super Bowl doesn't necessarily you're going to get back to one. I think back to the Cardinals and how close they came to beating the Steelers, and it had so many familiarities to that game. But the points we called out last Saturday were crucial, and it came to pass. Like 7 sacks given up by that Bengals offensive line. And the last one, arguably, is a sack. It's half a sack because Burrow was throwing the ball away in hope more so than anything else because he was getting sacked. And Eli Apple, I mean, he got hosed on the first touchdown, completely misguided in terms of where he should have been on the field. And he let Cup go, assuming someone else was going to take Cup. And then on the last drive, I know there was 2 flags on the last drive in particular that we and Colin at the time discussed. The first one I thought was dubious. The second one was a clear hold by Eli Apple. It was difficult, because you need really good players in the Super Bowl. And he's not a good player. He can argue the toss all we want. He's not at the level he should be for a cornerback playing in the Super Bowl against a player of Cup's caliber. And ultimately, that's what cost him in the end. And who knows if they'll be back again. The Cardinals came so close that year in 2009 and they never came back again. And will the Bengals be back? It's a long, we'll see.
Time will tell. Before I talk about my sort of thoughts on the game, I brought the special beers back just for you boys. So obviously, legally imported. My bag wasn't checked at all by the federal agents. I literally had a letter whenever I came back into the country. 21 yards. Most for Cam Akers at 21 yards for the Rams and Matthew Stafford at 2 interceptions. That's my takeaway from the game. The Bengals had the Bengals had their chances and they didn't take them, and the Rams took the chances, and that's the way I see the game. Like, it wasn't a classic by any means. I think I was sitting literally on camera on Sunday night on the show on Monday saying, "Oh, this game was fantastic." It wasn't the best game ever, but look, the Rams had the chance with a minute and a half to go, and they done it, and fair play to them. But I think the Bengals will come back again. I do. I think they've got the talent, and it really depends because I see the amount of guys that are up for renewal this season for tight end. They need to get. They have to bring back in CJ. If they don't bring back in CJ, it's going to be an interesting season for them. But Cam Akers in the Super Bowl, he had 13 carries, 21 yards. Arl Henderson 7 yards, 4 carries. Cooper Kupp didn't even have 100 yards on the day. Look, obviously Super Bowl MVP, 2 touchdowns, fantastic. Odell goes out. He was having a game. And then when I was gutted for him, so it's fantastic to see Odell get a ring. And look, it's all about the defense. Aaron Donald, I've seen a lot of people saying this week, is he the best defensive player of all time? I don't want to go that far, but an interesting game. Do I think the Rams can go back? I can't see how the Rams are going to bring all those guys back. I just can't.
They have a lot to work on. It could be one of those situations where they have to make a difficult decision. Who do you want back more? Just on Odell, maybe Colin will come to in a minute. Like the Rams struggled in the second half for large parts of the game. I thought Odell going out of the game was significant because the Bengals played so well defensively in the second half, but a lot of that was down to the fact that some of the players they were dealing with were very ineffective. And Jefferson, who I thought would have had a bit of a better game, which he did. Beckham had 53 yards in the middle of the second quarter, and the way he was going, at the rate he was going, he was probably going to hit 80, 90. And I know, not from a betting perspective, but he was 63 on the line. He was already at 53 in the middle of the second quarter. He was getting free. He had that 125-yard. He obviously had the touchdown. It looked like he was clearly a player they couldn't manage, and for him to get such a serious injury, look, he's got the ring, but he's got an injury now to contend with, and that makes it difficult to see whether they'll bring him back because there's a lot of unknown now with an ACL. Again, he's had a lot of serious injuries in his career, so will they take a punt on him? He might get more money elsewhere.
Call me happy Von Miller got a ring as well, and he's another guy that needs to come back and sign a contract, and it's gonna be an interesting offseason.
By the sounds of things, Von talked. It seemed during the week that he's very eager to return, and you heard Sean McVay and Aaron Donald talk about running it back. So it'll be interesting to see. Von certainly seemed delighted, and given that he has been involved in the 2 Super Bowls where quarterbacks have taken the most hits, that is a testament, I think, to him and in the playoffs, and shows that the Broncos just weren't able to offer him playoff football, but when you can, it's there. So there's a lot of teams that we'll probably talk about it a little while, have to figure stuff out around the cap, but this is what happens every year, and they find ways to do it. I am intrigued to see around the Bengals because I do think Burrow is a fantastic QB. We know he was playing as well hurt, but I saw a stat during the week that said each of the last 16 QBs to lose in their Super Bowl debut never made it back to the big game. And there were a limited number of guys who have made it back. I think it's about a handful, but the last 16 haven't. So Burrow has to break that streak. He's capable of doing it, but the Bengals need to have, I think, the sort of free agency and drafting that they had last year. They really need to build around him. Now they have the cap space to do it, so it will be interesting to see for them this offseason how they look to sort out that line whilst perhaps giving him 1 or 2 additional weapons.
Michael, I know you love to go with the old friends statement from the in-betweeners, but me and Colin did make some Bengals friends on our journey last weekend, and we've been in touch with them this week, and one of them said unless they fix that offensive line, they will not be back. He was very clear and precise about that. And I just want to make one comment on the referees. But the Bengals only got called for 31 yards on 4 plays in the game. The referees were very clear. It was very evident throughout the game that the referees didn't want to be the ones making decisions that were going to result in how the game went. The T. Higgins touchdown, Ramsey didn't have the best of games, but that was a clear face mask. If ever there was a face mask in the NFL, that was it. And then where it looked like the referees weren't showing any flags on the last drive, there was 3 flags. There was obviously offsetting penalties on that touchdown where there was a helmet, and then obviously there was a hole. But the two for like the Bengals fans this week are irate because it looked like a game where the referees weren't going to get involved. And in the end, they did. One, I'd say yes, one was a dubious call, as I've already said, but then the touchdown was a dubious one as well. So you get some, you win some, you lose some, I guess.
Yeah, and if you look at the stats, if you look at the Bengals offensive stats, I mean, and don't look at the final score. I mean, like, I don't know how. I mean, obviously they were in the lead for a proportion of that second half, and they didn't win the game. And obviously a huge congrats to the NRMs that have. And, you know, Kroenke bet the house, and Kroenke came up big, and now they're going to try and keep that talent and keep that offensive defense together and see can they make another run on it. I think they're definitely in an easier conference than they are in the Bengals. There's a few comments here just for a start. Ian says, welcome back, chaps. Thank you, Ian. Graham O'Hare says, I want the beer bottle. Well, look, we'll see the crack. I have not got down to the post office yet. I haven't really left the house since I got back, boys. All red in the face. There's a few other comments here. First off from Fred saying, welcome home, boys. I hope the week was brilliant for you all. Favorite part. So what was your favorite part besides the game? Before we answer that, if you have got a comment, type in Irish NFL Show on YouTube or type it in on Twitter, and we will try and comment back or put it on the show as soon as possible. I'm screenshotting the chats on Twitter because they don't pop up. Favorite part apart from the game, Colin? For me, it was... I'll come back.
It was what?
I'm still thinking. There were just so many favorite points.
Yeah. Well,
I thought you were going to jump in there, Brian.
No, you go ahead, Colin. Go ahead.
I think there are a number of probably different parts to it. On a personal level, the opportunity to shake hands with Jake the Snake Plummer, a guy who gave me plenty of excitement as a Broncos fan in some lean years, was definitely a personal highlight. But also, I thought the Bengals did a really good job in terms of the media setup on their media day. The opportunity to chat to the players, and they were so willing to engage and kind of generous with their time. And I'm sure they heard some of the same questions over and over again. But you did hear Zach Taylor also give a shout out to Nebraska, who will obviously be heading to Dublin in August. So that was, I think, one of the parts that really stood out.
It probably wasn't picked up at home for those who watched the media days on Friday, but we recognised when we got back to the hotel that evening was how different both media days were, and we were obviously in a situation where we had to make a decision what was the right one to go to because the times were conflicting, and we went with the Bengals one, and it was definitely the right decision because, as Colin alluded to, we got close and we got an opportunity to really talk to them in great detail. Where when you watch the Rams one later on that evening, there seemed to be quite a space between the media people and the players, so we were very much on top of the players and got a great opportunity. That was a highlight, and there was a great social aspect to the whole weekend because obviously all the media people were there, and we were fortunate on Friday night to be invited to Universal Studios tonight, and it was a great opportunity for us to meet other people who we've reached out to throughout the year on the show, and like we met people like your friend your former Buffalo Bills friend, Michael. Effie.
Well, we've got a picture of us and Effie, but I'm not going to put it up. But I will publicly say on the show that Brian O'Leary tried to convince Effie Obata to go to the Giants, which was good crack. Here, Effie was great crack. He was a gentleman in person. He's a beast.
I must have.
Effie flew back that night. Effie flew back on the next flight after that. He was doing on BBC on Sunday night, which is even more crazy. So fair play. I was going to use a media day, or sorry, not the media day. The media party is mine because I literally I flew in and then went straight to that there. But do you know what? I actually found the most enjoyable part of the game was the show on Saturday. But not just the show, but getting through 2 or 3 hours because literally it was like 35 degrees. But then the guys at the end, Dave, Tim, Joseph, the whole CBS team were fantastic. They had a barbecue at the end and everything, and fair play to them. It was fantastic. David has sent through a few pictures as well. So it's
sorry, I missed it there. I should have called that out as well. The CBS crew on Saturday morning LA time who looked after us. Like, it wasn't just about the meeting up, it was about coming, collecting us, bringing us there, the aftermath, everything that went with it was absolutely fantastic. And they seemed to really thoroughly enjoyed it, and they were blown away by our level of knowledge on the NFL, which is great to see that side of the world, that they recognise that what we do is really good.
There's a few comments about Jimmy G, and we will come back to that in a bit. We'll stay in the Super Bowl now, and then we'll maybe go around in the carousel because we've got a lot of time to talk about these sort of guys. Really appreciate the comments, folks, as well. The one thing that I wanted to say was whenever Brian, I know Colin, you were with me, and Brian, I was telling you about this. In Santa Monica on the Saturday night, there was a big Rams tailgate. And for anyone that isn't aware, so Santa Monica is like maybe 25 miles outside LA, and half the street was a Rams tailgate. And the other half, the night before Super Bowl, was the Chargers tailgate. The Chargers, who hadn't played since January, first week in January, and aren't playing again until the first week in September, were having a tailgate the night before the Super Bowl. Granted, there wasn't that many people there, but I just thought it was strange. That was the one thing I will say, and I'll openly say it. It was a 70-30 crowd in the stadium. When the Rams won, there was maybe 25,000-30,000 people there if we're lucky. And you've seen the parade. Clearly, there's a lot of work to do there for the Kroenke family, for the Rams. But look, fair play. They won it, and they've done very well there. But it's going to take time. LA column seems to be a bit of a Lakers town or a Dodgers town.
Yeah, I thought it was a smart move by the Chargers, to be honest, out recruiting. And if my team had a quarterback like Justin Herbert, I'd be recruiting in the off season as well, because that's a team that could go make a deep playoff run next year. You would have to say, yeah, it was certainly more Bengals fans. Look, in fairness to the Rams, and given what happened with the city that they left, maybe it's understandable that there's potentially some bittersweet moments for those fans. But Stan and his buddies who are buying up Inglewood will definitely want to build up the support base for their franchises.
Inglewood. Brian, there's a question in here from Neil Logan saying, will Sean McVay return? There's a meme going around on Instagram where he's drinking a glass of wine. He's saying he'll be back. But there wasn't a video saying he's going to do it.
Yeah, I think his fiance has also said he's coming back. I'm surprised that this conversation is going around. I mean, he's only 36 years of age. And even on the show last week, they were saying about the number of head coaches that are doing so well on the back of him. I mean, and we said at that stage he hasn't even won a Super Bowl. He hasn't now. But if he was to walk away from it now at 36, he's won a Super Bowl. But in 5 or 6 years, would you look back and say, oh, Sean McVay, he was a fantastic head coach? He needs to cement his legacy now and get this team back. I mean, I know there's a lot to work on in terms of contracts and players. But it's like any other season. They've got such a nucleus there of good players that even if 3 or 4 were to move on, they'll bring in other players and they should be back challenging next year in what is a very competitive division. I'd be stunned. Look, it looks like he's coming back, but I'd be stunned without even hearing the comments that have gone on this week, if he wasn't to come back. Sure, why wouldn't he want to come back? What else is he going to do it? 36, go and work in the media? No, he's got to come back and prove that his team is worthy of being the champions and come back again and have a right good go at it.
There is an argument, Colin, that he's won it all. He can't do any. I mean, obviously he can go win more, but he's reached the pinnacle. And maybe for him, maybe he's financially comfortable. He's got his wife at the house. He's in LA. Maybe there is that temptation because they don't have a first round draft pick to 2024. There's a lot of work there, and I agree with what you're saying, Brian. I think he'd be back, but I can see why the conversation started. But there's been a lot of conversations that have started online in the last couple of weeks. For example, Patrick Mahomes tonight and his fiance and brother, he's had to come out and deny that. So there's a lot of rubbish being talked. So who knows who started the whole McVay thing? But I know it wasn't a presser and stuff. But Colin, you wouldn't blame him for walking away if he did.
It is silly season, right? Absolutely. We've seen the story about Mahomes that you mentioned, stories about Brady and BA and Brady coming out of retirement. And there's an awful lot of stuff that you hear, especially at this time of year. I think in terms of being a head coach, it is obviously almost a 24/7, 365 job because you're on constantly. And there's a lot of emotional investment and physical investment that goes into it. And when you see say Tony Romo getting paid probably twice, if not 3 times what Sean McVay gets, I think maybe that's where some of these stories potentially come from. A lot probably comes down to, and also the fact that Sean Payton walked away from the Saints. So maybe people looking at that. But no, I think by all accounts, by going by, as Brian said, his fiance's post, he certainly will be coming back. And I mean, if he's had the conversations with the guys, with Stafford, with Aaron Donald, if Von, potentially they've had talks and Von said he'll take a haircut, I can see the lure to come back. Yeah, sure, you won it once, but you want your legacy, I suppose, to the opportunity to defend it. But yeah, if somebody dangled 3 times your salary at you and said you can do a tenth of the work for 3 times the money, I'm sure there would be people that would say, why not? Is this worth everything? But I can understand, given the players at his disposal and the opportunity to continue to work with Aaron Donald, I think you'll see Sean McVay back.
Yeah, Fred has called it out in the comments, and Colin pretty much has nailed it. I mean, there's a lot of ploys being played here. Agents getting involved and saying, look, he's been offered this, significant salary by one of the TV broadcasters. What are you going to do? He's just winning a Super Bowl. So I'm sure Gronk is going to pay up at some stage, and he probably have to pay up on Aaron Donald as well, because he's on 80 million a year, which is astronomical in their world. But in his world, he's probably thinking he's worthy of a lot more. And then you get into salary cap permutations and how they figure all that out. But if other players are going to take a haircut, because I suppose there's other players out there that would say, I've made me money, I want to stay here and try challenge for another Super Bowl. And Von Miller's fortunate he got the move when he did, and he's got a Super Bowl. And Beckham was fortunate that he got picked up at the right time and he's got his ring. So I'm sure those guys will be looking to get back. Why would they want to go anywhere else at this stage?
Matthew Stafford finally getting his ring as well after he done his time in Detroit. Fred also asking you for a follow there on Twitter, Colin. I'm sure you can help him out with that. And then he's also asking me In-N-Out Burger. Did we all get In-N-Out Burger? I got it on Monday. Just whenever you all went, I call him. I know you did, Brian. Did you get a chance to go to this establishment, In-N-Out Burger?
No, I didn't. No. I was focusing on other retail outlets during the few days, as Colin knows well.
It's worth the hype, and I'll leave it at that. I was impressed, and I went in a bit like Brian there, or a bit like somebody else, going like, it was worth the hype. But yeah, man, the Rams have won the Super Bowl. The Rams have beaten the Bengals, and it was an honor to be in SoFi last week. An honor to meet everyone that we've run into. Genuinely, and it really only hit me during the game last week that we were actually there. Just thanks to everyone for the support, and I'm sure we'll recap on it a lot over the next few weeks and months. But just for looking ahead, we've got free agency coming up around Paddy's Day. We've got the NFL draft, which is on in Vegas on the 20th of April. Schedule release, you're talking 2 or 3 weeks after that. It'll be in May sometime. The Hall of Fame game is on a Thursday night. It's the 4th of August. Kickoff is September the 8th, and apparently Brian's taking us all to LA for that one, going by his comment the other day. The London games, TBC. The Germany game, as far as I am aware, it's in November. That's still TBC officially. Do not book your flights yet, please. It's in Munich. And the Super Bowl next year is on my wife's birthday on February 12th, 2023. We do have a comment, and I want to go into this very quickly, about the halftime show. Now, I went back when I was in Heathrow on Tuesday, and I watched the show. Boys, 50 Cent. Like, Mark Cockrell, I wish he was here. Like, I completely freaked out. But Colin, I loved it. And Mr. Dre left everything on his... he left everything in that stadium. But I can understand people, if you don't like R&B music or hip-hop music, you're not going to like it, yeah?
Yeah, but that's going to be every halftime show. I mean, every halftime
Country
show
music next year
divides opinions. So I thought it was an exceptional show. Thought it, between Dre, Snoop, Eminem, Kendrick Lamar, Mary J, you had something for a lot of people, and I suppose Snoop and Dre kind of so synonymous with the West Coast. So I thought it was a brilliant job by the NFL, and really fitting for the city, and worked really well. But look, I saw somebody on Twitter said it wasn't even in the top 25 Super Bowl halftime shows. So to each their peach.
Brian, did you enjoy it?
I did. I was winding Colin up, said I didn't, but I did. But I
Oh,
do.
okay.
But I do. I would go as far as to say I wasn't blown away by like the way it was kind of put out there on Twitter. It was the best ever I've seen. I've enjoyed other halftime shows, but again, Colin was called on it. Depends what your taste in music is. As a show, as a spectacle, I enjoyed it. Lamar, like that, to be honest, I didn't even know who that man was. So it made no odds to me who he was. Never even heard of him. So, but the others I really enjoyed, and it was. Look, we were there. It was fantastic. You know, I've watched it back
Yeah,
maybe
like
three or four times now. I watched it back.
as a 30-year-old that would enjoy various types of music, before we go to the next conversation here, I actually thought Kendrick Lamar, like I thought he let the rest of them all down, personally. I just didn't. But I thought everyone else was
I didn't
brilliant.
get it. I actually forgot he
But
was on
at
it.
the same time,
Sorry, when I watched it back, I forgot he was on it because it was such a non-event within the show compared to everybody else.
I'm really looking forward to seeing who's going to be in Arizona next year. I would put money on the Killers or Imagine Dragons the year it's in Vegas in 2 years' time. But sure, look, we'll find out whenever we're out in Vegas, if we're all allowed to go to Vegas. There is a comment also asking about, it's at the bottom of the screen, the tickets in August, because this game in August, whether you're into college football or not, is the next NCAA or NFL game in the world. So we've got the next game. March, apparently, February, March time. It'll all be on our Twitter account. You'll hopefully, if you don't get first access to it, you'll be very quick to get it anyway on our Twitter account. And yeah, just before I guess we move on from the Super Bowl, because we've been talking for half an hour, just thanks again to everyone for their incredible support last weekend. It was a great crack. I'm sure the rest of the boys do, but we all genuinely are aware of how lucky we were last weekend. I regret not bringing a Kerry or Tyrone top in for social media. And it was great to see I think seen a few boys from Cavan, Monaghan, Wexford, and also Tip in the stadium last week. So a lot of boys going on. And finally, the one thing I'll say before I let these boys maybe wrap it up, I nearly cried when The Rock came on, boys. That was just unbelievable. Like, I know some people were saying it was cringy and corny. No, I loved it. I thought it was perfect, and I loved I watched Inside the NFL on Wednesday and seen the players' reactions. Zach Taylor was standing like this, like come on, like whenever he came on, it was. But like he should do it every year. I'm surprised Buffer didn't do it though, Colin.
I think I liked Joe Burrow saying he was a fan of The Rock's shoes. What I am fascinated by already is, when we looked at it, you could have predicted potentially the Rams for this year, but when the Bengals, so there will always be a surprise, if not in the Super Bowl, then I think in one of the conference games. So I'm already intrigued to see what 2022 is going to bring us.
It just whets the appetite for next year, and that's unfortunately for us NFL fans that we have to wait so long till September. And I know we've got so much to go through: free agency, the draft, the schedule. Then you hit June and nothing happens for a while. So, to be at the game, we can't thank everybody enough who's helped us along the way. Everybody who watched the show and everybody who did a lot to get us there, and to be there inside the stadium, and then obviously the CBS work on Saturday. So fantastic, and it capped off a great season. We're now into the off season, but it capped off a great season for the show as a whole. And I think everybody should take kudos for what's happened.
I have the winner of the jersey competition, if everybody's happy for me to announce that. Is that
absolutely
okay, boys, to announce it live?
Unless it's a Patriots winner.
There is a boy from Antrim that won it, and he wanted the Mac Jones jersey beforehand. So congrats! I can't remember his name's evaded me. I should know his name and I don't. Niall Diamond.
America's a few Mac Jones jerseys. You can start with.
He does, and let's see if they're still worth anything this time next year. Niall Diamond at Balahi Blue. Now I think he's a Derry man, so we'll not hold that against him. But Niall, fair play to you, mate. You've won a jersey of your choice up to £100. Because if he's in Derry, up to £100, no more, please. I'm only messing, but congrats. Congrats to, I forgot his name already. Congrats to Niall. Niall, you're a diamond, mate. Thanks for your support. And I will be in touch. If not tonight.
It's not Neil Diamond, no?
It's not Neil Diamond. It's Niall Diamond from Balahi in Derry. and he loves the hurling as well. So we're not buying you a hurling jersey. Hope to have a couple of hurlers on in the off season as well, Colin. I'm loving it. I'm loving the selection tonight, Colin. The shirt.
Yeah, well, I have standards to uphold.
Yes, sir. Right, I know we're going to get into a few different topics here now. I'll start off very quickly because we sort of talked about the Super Bowl there. Brian, Zach Taylor 2026. Do you think it's smart of the Bengals to get him, I guess, signed, like literally coming off the plane in Cincinnati? And look, the Cincinnati ones have more crack after the game, the Rams fans did. I mean, we were chatting to Kenny and the lads, but Zach Taylor is all signed up 2026. Good deal or bad deal?
I think it's a good deal, and I think the deal was done before the Super Bowl because for that to be wrapped up so quickly, I think it was a formality and it was pretty much written up and ready to be signed one way or the other. Look, they wanted a long-term stability, and they've got that. And for a head coach, had only won 6 games going into the season, he's certainly proven his worth. And look, we were fortunate to meet him last week. He looks like a really good guy and a classy guy, and he has that team all playing for him. And it's evident the fact how the game ended because they got the ball at the end and they did enough. I would say is I don't want to get. Do you want to get back into the game? Like his play calling at time and the first drive and the last drive, second and 1 on the last drive, 54 seconds and 2 timeouts, needing 15 yards, and he throws the ball. He calls 3 throw plays. But look, overall, he's had a great season and he's a good head coach. And there's many as him in the league that would happily take him as their head coach. We did miss one more thing. Sorry, I know the celebrations we discussed, and we were a bit taken back by the lack of Rams fans. It seemed to have got busier as the week went on. Matthew Stafford didn't seem too keen to help that poor lady out who fell over the cliff, shall we say, and has some severe injuries. I know the Stafford family have since come out saying they're going to pay the bills, but it was very much.
There's a big mess, and look, they're going to take care of it.
It wasn't a good look. Let's put it that. It was like
no, but I think she didn't have a good look in some of her former tweets either. So I think it's just an unfortunate interlude to the Super Bowl, but they're stumping up, and I think to sort it out now anyway.
Yeah, 50K and a GoFundMe as well. So hopefully everybody's okay in that situation. Big party in LA. I think there was more to Tyrone All-Ireland celebration, which was hampered due to COVID. I'm joking, there was nobody there. But look, everyone enjoyed themselves. I know there's a lot of Rams fans in Ireland. In there's obviously Rams NI, Rams UK, so everyone's buzzing. So congrats, boys. Jimmy G, people like 3 people have asked about Jimmy G. Is there something going on with Jimmy G this week, boys, that we should know about, or what's the crack? I'm going to come out and say it. I think Jimmy G will be traded to a team in the AFC in the next month, and I'm not going to say what team, but I don't think he'll be in San Francisco come September. What's your thoughts?
He definitely won't be in San Francisco. I mean, he basically did his kind of his farewell press conference was a couple of weeks ago. I mean, the question really is when does he go, and who does he go to? But you can't give up what they gave up for Lance and not play him. And remember, I mean, Lance played a couple of games last year, but Lance essentially has not really played for 2 years now. So you can't sit him again next year. So they're going to have to move on. GBG, I think the cap hit is about 25, 26 or thereabouts. So you're looking at somebody will roll the dice on him. Is they'll believe that he is serviceable enough, and I suppose it depends on you're taking on potentially 1 year. So if there's a team that feels that maybe their draft position isn't going to allow them to take a QB this year, or they feel this draft class isn't particularly strong when it comes to QBs, but yet you feel that you've enough to potentially compete, maybe you roll the dice on it. I think you win in spite of Jimmy G rather than because of Jimmy G. So I'm very interested to see who will be willing to take a risk on him. But we are going to have something of a QB carousel, because obviously you have a lot of QB needy teams given Brady's retirement and Big Ben's retirement, and the situation in Denver obviously being as it is. So you've got lots of teams looking for a quarterback, and there certainly aren't, say, 32 starting caliber QBs. So it's going to definitely be a game of musical chairs over the next few weeks.
Brian, I looked at the draft prospects on Thursday. Looked at a couple of ones that maybe hopefully that we might get a chance to chat to over the next few months. I mean, there's not many quarterbacks there, is there? If you're genuinely looking for one in the draft,
there's 3 there, and in other years you'd say none of them would go in the first round. But like me and Colin discussed it last week over there, we felt that someone will take a swing at it, because they'll probably think there's a huge upside to the likes of Kenny Pickett coming out of Pittsburgh, and I've even seen now today mock drafts where he's in the top 15. I've seen a few with the Broncos taking him, so someone's going to take a swing at them. From the 49ers point of view, I think they'll try hold for as long as they can, because I think what will happen is they get to near draft period, and these teams will have done their homework on these guys coming out, and if they don't feel they're up to it, then someone will make that push for Jimmy G, and the 49ers will probably think the nearer the draft, the more likely is we get a higher pick, because people will get desperate and hit the panic button. There's an interesting article coming out this evening, and we spoke to Ron Rivera last weekend, and he pretty much called out that as we keep saying, it's a QB league, and you need to have a really efficient quarterback. There's a serious conversation going on about them making a real strong push to get Russell Wilson, which is floating around today. But look, we had this last year with numerous quarterbacks, and we're probably going to have it again, because what's happened with Brady retiring and the impact of that, and where the Bucs go from here. And Kyler Murray over the past few days has been kind of snippets of information coming out that he's not happy there, and they're very much saying is it a Cliff Kingsbury situation? Who wins out there? Is it him or Kyler Murray? And who would the Cardinals rather have in the long run? But I think the Cards are committed to Cliff, so will Murray be on the move? Things don't seem to be right there either. So I think we're probably in for even a more impactful offseason in terms of quarterbacks than we were last year. And I thought last year was quite fascinating, despite the fact that the deals didn't come to fruition like we thought. We spoke about Wilson, Watson, and obviously Rodgers. And now it looks like Rodgers may potentially even sign a contract soon enough to take him completely out of picture. Today, they brought back a quarterback, the new quarterback coach is someone who he has a great relationship with. And you'd have to think they're doing that as a bargain chip to say, look, we're trying to do everything we can to keep you. So sign that contract, $54 million over 2 years. Significant.
Aaron Rodgers has changed his personal life as well this week. His links to Boulder, Colorado have now decreased. I don't think Rodgers will leave personally, but we'll talk about him even, I guess, down the stretch. Seen an interesting one, because obviously the Patriots need picks. I've seen a scenario where the 49ers receive the Patriots 2022 round 1 pick. The Steelers receive Jimmy G, and the Patriots receive 3 picks in the 2022 and 2023 draft from both the 49ers and the Steelers collectively. Seeing Jimmy Garoppolo go to Pittsburgh may happen, may not happen, but we're in silly season, and free agency, as we said, opens on the free agency opens on the 16th. It's going to be interesting to see when these trades start. What dominoes do fall first, Colin, because this as Brian said, this Jimmy G one could just go on and go on and go on.
Well, the other one that is the Carson Wentz situation, and I think the Carson Wentz situation highlights the way in which the league has gone. Outside of certain teams, but most teams now, you realize very quickly within the first year or so what you have in a QB. And people have pointed to Josh Allen. Well, Josh Allen led the Bills to the playoffs in his second year and was an incredible rusher. He wasn't as bad as some people would have you believe, that he took this jump out of nowhere in his third year. I think that the Colts realized that they're not going to win with Carson Wentz, and they're looking to move on from him. But again, if they do move on from Wentz, who do they bring in there to try to allow them to get to the playoffs and to make a run at it? I think everyone is essentially looking to get to the dance, because once you get to the dance, anything can happen. I mean, again, the 49ers with Jimmy G potentially a dropped interception away from the Super Bowl. And if they got there, who knows? But it's very interesting that Wentz goes from a guy who, was playing at an MVP level up until that injury, and then Foles comes in, and then it just all falls apart. But now teams, I think, realize. So it's very, very interesting to see that Frank Reich brought him in. They obviously gave up a lot for him, but by the sounds of things from the people up there in Indianapolis, it doesn't sound like Carson Wentz is going to be back there. So that's another team looking for a QB. The Raiders, by all accounts, McDaniels is a big fan of Derek Carr, and they may look to get a couple of years of an extension done there. So the Raiders might be out on a QB, having the talks that they might be in on one. So yeah, this situation, I suppose, around QBs is going to be really, really interesting. If I'm the Seahawks though, around Russell Wilson, and your head coach is 70, why would you trade Russell Wilson? Why would you want, for Pete Carroll as well? Why is he going to want to rebuild given what's out there currently? It doesn't make a lot of sense. And I'd be surprised if Rodgers was to leave the Packers. I think he might be very satisfied with winning the power struggle there, and kind of saying, I told you so. And I think the fact that Jordan Love had to play a game and a half this season only strengthened Aaron Rodgers' hand.
Yeah, maybe look a bit more at Aaron Rodgers next week and sort of see the crack. Brian, the whole Carson Wentz thing isn't that surprising. If you look at Jim Irsay's Twitter account, I mean, the 2 days after they got beat, he was livid. Like, the man was a man possessed.
Well, rightly so, because they lost to a very poor Jags team. And like Colin said about getting to the dance, they were one game away from being in the dance. So for him to give up on Carson Wentz now, to me, is a bit of a shock, to be honest. I know he didn't have the best season, but they have no first-round pick, they have no third-round pick. So where are you going to get a quarterback? They don't have the collateral to go after anybody. So they're going to run it back with the rookie and give him his opportunity. Maybe it'll be the best thing they ever done. Get him on a 3 or 4 year deal, and he's good enough to take the team forward. But they were here only one game out from being in the playoffs, and 3 weeks before that, they'd beaten the Patriots. They'd gone into the Cardinals and won. Everybody felt that this team was an explosive team going in the right direction. So, and he was the quarterback. So it's a bit of, I found it a bit surprising that they're going to go that route. So I don't mean to swing back too much on Jimmy G. I think another reason why the 49ers will hold out as long as possible, they've given up a lot of picks to get up the chain last year to get trade-ons. They need to get some stuff back to allow them to be competitive in this draft.
Dermot Tobin saying Jimmy G improves about 16 to 17 teams through the West, so it'll be interesting to see what the Niners get for him. We've got a comment from Paul Murphy. Murph. I'm saying that because I'm loading the comment, just trying to waste time. Which team with a losing record this season is best placed to do it? Bengals and achieve success next year. It's now called the Bengals. Colin, I'm going to put you in the spot. Go, and don't say Denver. Go.
With a losing record, who is best placed? That's with a losing record's an interesting one. Because I'm going to say because they had a losing record, potentially the Ravens, because they had such an injury ravaged year last year, probably more injury ravaged than any team I've ever seen. And the Broncos have had injuries, but nothing like the Ravens have had. The Lamar missed games, their top cornerbacks, their entire running back room was gone, defensive line, O-line. They've made some changes, obviously, there as well. But I think with Harbaugh there, they will always be competitive. And I think the Steelers obviously have a situation where they've got to get their QB figured out. The Browns, I don't think all is well there. And the fact that, some of their players even kind of were delighted about OBJ tells its own story. So I'm going to say the Ravens could potentially, if I'm totally on the spot, being unprepared, they're a team who could, turn it around. But I don't think that's quite like the Bengals who had won 4 games the year prior.
It's a very tricky one, bearing in mind I've not had a lot of time to go through it. I'd probably lean Seattle. I think Pete Carroll isn't done yet. They've had a difficult year. They had a lot of injuries. Russell Wilson had his injury, missed 4 or 5 games as well, where essentially the season was over with. So if he had played in those games, you'd wonder how many of them they would have won. And when he came back from injury, he lost a couple of games on the run where he really wasn't up to because of the injuries. So I would expect them to come back next season. I know they haven't got a first-round pick because they're giving that to the Jets, but be interested to see what they try to do in free agency. But I would think Seattle would be back challenging next year. I was going to go down the Browns route, but it is a tricky one, precarious one, because that division is so stacked. So I'll lean Seattle.
Colin mentioned about 3 teams there, so I don't want to say the Houston Texans because I don't want to start triggering week 1 sort of vibes here. Well, Lovie Smith coming in, he understands what it's going to take to win in that division. He understands that they have to build a really, really tough defense and get a quarterback, and if they do that, it's going to take more than a year to do that, but if they do that, you never know. Before I put mine in, 49ers Ireland saying they take a top 50 pick in the draft for Jimmy G. Woof!
Top 15 pick?
Top 50. Top 50.
I'm
going to say I'm going to say the 7 and 10 Atlanta Falcons. I was going to say the Vikings, who we're going to talk about next to some Irishman's the new manager, or the new head coach, O'Donnell. I'm joking. 7 and 10. Now, I was speaking of D. Orlando the other night, and apparently Arthur Blank is open to returning to London again, only as the away team in the near future. They obviously don't want to give up a home game, which is obvious, but Falcons seem to enjoy that market. How old is Matt Ryan now, boys? 35 next year, I want to say. Is he around
I
there?
don't even know if he is that age. Matt Ryan played reasonably well last year.
Yeah, Matt Ryan, Cordell Patterson. If Kyle Pitts can score more touchdowns, if they can get another wide receiver and build that defense up, there's no reason why they can't make a run. Like, look at their division. Seriously, look at the division that they're in now. Like the Falcons have a chance. Going on the Vikings, boys. The Vikings obviously finished 8-9 last season, and they now have got Kevin O'Connell. He was with the Rams, and he's part of that lovely coaching tree of Sean McVay. Colin, any relation?
Well, that's definitely a Munster name. So I would say that his relatives left from Cork, Kerry, or Clare is going to be my guess. And I think for the Vikings, the Kirk Cousins question is another QB who there's been some talk about just purely on the cap hit, because Cousins is an interesting one because he played reasonably well last year, but it was the defense ultimately that let them down. I'm really interested to see what they do there. Florio will tell you that they're constantly in purple purgatory, never good enough to really do anything in the playoffs, and never bad enough to allow themselves to get a franchise QB. Obviously, he's come across a guy with a big reputation from the Rams, and they have, if they decide to keep the rumors were that in his interview he said that he had a plan for Cousins and Jefferson. So I'm going to say it will be interesting to see what they do there. Can Dalvin Cook continue to produce? We know that at a certain point in this league it tends to fall off for running back. So that's a very interesting one up in the Great White North.
It's the common theme of what we've seen throughout this, the offseason for everyone else except the teams in the playoffs, which is the new head coaches are predominantly offensive coordinators moving from one team to another, and this one seemed to be a formality for the past fortnight. Obviously, it couldn't be confirmed. But it doesn't come as a surprise that they've gone for a fresher, younger, more kind of expansive offensive type of guy, because they felt in the end that it just wasn't working with Zimmer. And I did think for a while they might go defense, because their defense was struggled for large parts, but then they got it back together last year. So look, it'll be interesting to see. I just don't see how they can move Cousins, because similar to Matt Ryan, I think Matt Ryan, they'll be on the hook for 40 odd million, and Matt Ryan is 36, but he's still probably given enough production that the Falcons will hang on for another year. And I think the Cousins one is probably something more so for 12 months' time, because new coach, 12 months for the quarterback, he'll know by then if this is the right guy for him. Then obviously they'll make a decision where to go from here.
New GM as well. You're spot on. A bit like the situation being Colin with the Broncos this year. Give him a year. yada, 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 and then actually take it from there. I mean, your man O'Connell, did I say, is it O'Connell or O'Donnell? I've literally embarrassed myself here now. It's been a long week. O'Donnell? O'Connell. See, like,
Kevin
I mean,
O'Connell.
potato. Do you know what I mean?
He,
Like, I'll tell
he,
you.
he backed up Tom Brady 10 or 11 years ago as quarterback.
And he was like,
Mark's the man
if
for
think
this.
about it,
He'd know all about him.
think about it, like the week before the Super Bowl, he was interviewing virtually, and then he was at the game with us on Sunday. Had a good few days. By the time we were all in LAX, he was traveling over to Minnesota, so he's only getting in there. He only seen his office for the first time Wednesday. I watched the press conference. I watched the press conference yesterday, and I have to say, I wish I was. I mean this in a nice way. Uh, the situation with the Vikings is going to depend on Aaron Rodgers and the Packers and where they go this season. But Jesus, boys, they're very optimistic in Minnesota, and fair play to them. They seem to be on the right path there. Colin, do you want to shout out what you just sent me on a text there now? What you want to finish the show off with?
I say that we have to give our way too early conference championship game picks for the
Next year.
2022
Do it for
season.
the crack. Do it for the crack.
Go on, Colin. So you can start us.
Okay, I'm gonna say in the AFC, I'm gonna say that it will be the Chargers against the Bills. I think Staley will surely improve a little bit in his second season in terms of that defense, given how bad they were against the run, and I think Herbert is outstanding. Also, I mean, talk about silly. Is it silly season? A lot of stories in Kansas this week around Eric Bieniemy. So that'll be interesting. And I think the Bills, having been the bridesmaid for the last couple of years and been a possession away, I think that they will get to the conference championship. In the NFC, it's probably maybe even a little bit tougher. I think the 49ers, I really like the team that they have there, and I think Lance will improve. Who they'll play, I'm going to say that it's going to be the Packers, because I think Aaron Rodgers stays. So those are my conference championship game picks for 2022. Way too early and without free agency or the draft happening.
Brian, Peter Davey is saying that Jimmy G might get a game in Kruger for the Dubs. Just putting on that.
The way things are going at the moment, we're playing Mayo this weekend. It's not looking good. Could be getting relegated soon enough. Anyway, Bucks and Packers. I think the Bucks are going to make a trade during the offseason and get a quarterback in that will take this team. They have a great team.
Who? No, but like, sorry. Who would you bring in? Like, what would be the quarterback to take him over the edge?
Deshaun Watson.
Oh, he could be the leading.
That has to get cleared up soon.
He could be gone the last 6 weeks.
If he gets cleared in the next few weeks, no matter what, cleared isn't the right word. If he gets his personal issues resolved, there's going to be numerous teams going for him, and he's going to have to pick at teams. And he's already come out by all accounts, and now he's doing the Russell Wilson saga where he's selecting the teams in which he wants to go to. The Bucks are high up. Why wouldn't they be? Great defense, great. They were close to going on in the playoffs into the championship game. Didn't materialize, but I think the Bucks will be back. So Bucks, Packers, and I'll go with the Bills and the Patriots.
The Patriots with Mac Jones a quarterback, yeah? You think they go to the AFC Championship?
Mac Jones had a very efficient first year in the league, and I think he'll only get better for that year.
Yeah, I mean, if he takes steroids between now and September, he might be able to move his arms more. I'm only joking. That'll be interesting if Bill can take Mac Jones and take him to that level. It'll be unbelievable.
I'll say one thing to you. Burrow got injured in week 12 last year in his first year, and he didn't play for the rest of the season. He got the Super Bowl this year. Did you honestly, genuinely believe at the start of the season that the Burrow would be in a Super Bowl? No. So who knows?
No, but he's definitely more mobile than Mac Jones is. 100%.
Peyton Manning wasn't mobile.
I mean,
the interesting thing, I suppose, is that it genuinely is the second year where quarterbacks do tend to take off. Be that Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, it is the second year. So Mac Jones is definitely ahead of the curve. I think the Patriots would have some pieces to add to get there, but given that they have Belichick, if Mac Jones, if he can continue to progress, who knows?
Well, I love, before I give my picks, I love how nobody here has mentioned the Chiefs yet. I wonder, is there 35 million reasons why that is the case? Right, let's start off with the AFC. I'm going to start off now by saying the Bills against the Titans in the AFC. I'm not going to go like the Browns column they got there.
You've literally come back to the same championship game you picked this year.
I think the Bills. I think the expectations there for both teams. I think next year as well. They have to do it. And in the NFC, the Cardinals and the Rams. I think Sean McVay brings everybody back, and I think the Cardinals are going to make a run next year. Kyler Murray, it's all bull. I have Instagram. I delete posts. I unfollow people. I mean, it just depends on what day you wake up and what the crack is.
I'll make one more prediction.
Mark Cockrell to appear in over 6.5 shows next season.
The Bengals won't be in the playoffs next year.
I'll make a prediction. I think the Chiefs are going to be in trouble next year. Financially, at the minute, they're in trouble. I think it's going to be interesting to see where they're at. A lot's going to depend on the division that they're in, and the way that the other teams in the division play. I don't want to say they're going to. I think the Patriots miss playoffs next year, but I'm just putting it out there, and I don't want to because Mark's not on here. But, it's only February. Like, I mean, so many things can happen. The draft.
I think we did this the very first Monday after last season. Well, I can't even remember.
I'll have to go back and watch it. That's more predictions again until the week of kickoff.
With the Dolphins will be really interesting to see, what they can do, and on the offensive side of things, they should improve. Can the defense, it was up and down at times this year. When it was good, it was outstanding. So there will be a lot of really interesting storylines, I think.
I have to say though, Colin, as somebody that has struggled with like I've struggled with my faith for years, but to actually now see the resurrection and the return of the Messiah now occurs, for example, with Miami, it gives me faith in life, and it's an exciting time. And that was a joke for all the
Michael. While you were having a bit team with the Chiefs, very interesting story came out last week, which you probably didn't read, which was they actually wanted Eric Bieniemy to get a job because they wanted to promote their quarterback coach to be the next offense coordinator. It's something that Andy Reid has wanted for some time, and it hasn't materialized because he's now the new Giants offense coordinator. So it'll be interesting to see what he brings from his Mahomes days to New York. So
who's going to play who in Germany? Go, Colin.
It's tough to say. Like that was the other thing from last week though. Like the NFL's commitment to growing the sport internationally is enormous, and they now have a real team in place, and it was great to hear. And also I don't know if everyone would have seen it, but the commitment to growing the international player program and allowing specialist kickers and punters is really good news for people from Ireland. So it's great to hear that. In terms of who plays there, it's going to be, I imagine, one of either the Patriots or the Chiefs. It'll definitely be one of those, and who they will play. I think roll the dice, but I would say if the Patriots play this year, it'll be the Chiefs the next year, or vice versa. Yeah. No idea who they'll play.
They said that it will be definitely an NFC versus AFC game, and I believe it will be the Chiefs. And that base, I'm going to say, it's going to be the Chiefs and the Seahawks.
I think Arizona.
I just quickly looked at the Chiefs schedule.
I looked at the Patriots schedule there now. I think Arizona gave up an international game for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'm taking Patriots Cardinals, and I think Germany will get a better game than any of the 3 London games, and they deserve it. They had nearly double the amount of people that watched the Super Bowl in Germany than the UK. I'm not going to say UK because we don't know how many people watch it in Ireland. It hasn't been released. There's no terrestrial broadcast in Ireland. But double the amount of people watch it in Germany. Fair play to them. Hoping to get a Dr. Alexander on, boys, over the next few weeks. I'm not going to guess London games. I will say I think we'll see the Jets and the Dolphins again, potentially. Not against each other and the Jags, but I think those 3 teams will be involved in some way.
What I would say is it's an enormous year for the Jets, in terms of Wilson and what he can do in his second year, and obviously Salah. And for the Dolphins, I really think Mike McDaniels has an opportunity to really create something special potentially. But this is one where it is really interesting. Can a guy make the jump from coordinator and being so good at the X's and O's and so good at seeing the game, but taking the jump to HC? Some guys have taken to it like to duck to water, others not the case. So if it is to be the Dolphins and the Jets, it'll be a much more interesting stories around both of them.
Well, there was a story last week that one of the Tottenham games is going to be the Saints declaring as the home team, and they're going to play either the Bengals, the Ravens, or the Raiders. So, look, whatever team is selected from those three, I think you couldn't argue with that in terms of a game, which we hopefully will be covering in London. And for the Jags at Wembley, selfishly, we have them on the schedule. Giants are the away team. I hope it's the Jags and Giants, but it won't be a game that everybody will be drawn into. But I have selfish reasons for that.
I'm hearing whispers of the Raiders. I was about to say Oakland. I'm hearing whispers of Raiders, Jaguars, and I'm hearing that the Broncos are in Mexico. But what do I know, boys? Do you know what I mean? I haven't. I'm just hearing DMs.
We just take the little snippets of information we have.
I think you could be on to something. I think it'll be the Raiders, Giants, or Cowboys against the Jags in Wembley, and you'll be a happy man. You'll not be in the press pass that day anyway. Let's just
absolutely not. No, I'll be down there with the Lumballs.
I'll
be down with LPG, license plate guy.
Oh God. Anyway, let's be clear here. We appreciate everyone's support, especially tonight. People commenting the league, the season's over, and chatting away. Good crack. You can obviously watch this back all week. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can watch it on the NFL Ireland Facebook page, which I was saying this morning to the boys. Really appreciate the support from them all season. And you can get it on the podcast as well. We aim to be back next week. The way that we see it is there is no off season. We're literally weeks away from the NFL draft, and the last time I checked, we don't freeze for 7 months. So we'll be back next week.
There will be a whole host of stories. I guarantee that over the course of the next few weeks, between free agency, between trades, between unexpected shenanigans, which will lead to teams having to make decisions. The games may pause for right now, but the stories will continue unabated for the next 7 months.
I love the way, and Michael, you're right, you put the official date on free agency as the 16th. That's the date in which it commences. But the reality is that bargaining period where players can negotiate with teams, and the agent starts on the 14th. And by the time free agency actually formally starts, the big deals are already done. So we hope to be doing shows 14th and the 15th as well.
And we've never even discussed the fact that, and it probably comes down to maybe where Aaron Rodgers plays, Devonta Adams. I mean, he is, as of right now, a free agent. Lots to discuss.
35 million reasons for some teams as well why there's going to be issues this year, which we'll talk about that. With 7 months, I guess that is the end of the season. The new season starts now. The USFL starts in 2 months. Really excited for that. No doubt Jeff Reinbold will somehow become a GM or special teams manager there.
He should be a head coach instead of Fisher. Oh my goodness.
Fisher looking well. Boys, thanks a million for your time tonight. Thanks to everyone for watching tonight. And that's it. It's been one hell of a season. Even Fred saying that Brian's calls are whack. And that's it, boys. Have a good off season. See you next week. Can you believe 7 months after the Chiefs against the Bucs in the Super Bowl, we're back, not in Tampa Bay, but in Tampa, Dublin Bay tonight for the NFL kickoff.
I hate to say it because it's going to sound boring. I've got Tom Brady in the box win all the time.
My Super Bowl would be the Packers against the Chiefs, with the Chiefs getting the trophy back.
But in the Super Bowl, I think it's Bucs Browns. I think Tom Brady wins another ring.
Matthew Stafford is going to win the Super Bowl. A team is going to win it in their home city for the second year in a row. We are honoured to be at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin. Houston, we have a problem. What's going on? I mean, surely the Jaguars win this.
Not again. Don't stall him, Michael.
Like, what are you talking about?
So, Colin, the biggest game of the season tonight?
quite an interesting one. I didn't expect it to be where it is. Hands up, I got this completely wrong.
But the reality is, I think Brian O'Leary is going to enjoy this Thursday Night Football a little bit more than last week's. Just a guess on that one.
We got a good bet up last weekend. We also got a good bet up on Thursday night because we were confident in the Panthers and we went on the -8, so that came up for us as well. So we're doing very well with matchbook.com.
Brian, welcome to Meath. Obviously, you had to get me down here after they beat us in the All-Ireland minor final. But obviously, congratulations to them. But great to record here from the Technology Cafe.
I don't think you need to be worried about All-Ireland finals after the months you've had.
I'm trying to think, what would it be like to run out of town, the legend that established your franchise, and say that you've actually fired him? Oh, that's right. That's the Denver Broncos and what they did to John Elway.
How did the Colts
So, back in your box.
Opposite Tottenham Hotspur Stadium ahead of today's massive game in London, the Atlanta Falcons playing the New York Jets. Delighted to be joined by my co-host Colin Cronin, Brian O'Leary. Hello, Mark, if you're watching, but we have a very suitable replacement in. We said yesterday, Colin, Brian, the royalty of Atlanta Falcons media, D. Orlando Ledbetter. D. Orlando, D-Led, as Matt Ryan apparently called you, according to Michael on Friday. Not envying me. You'll envy me now, Brian. Sláinte boy. Who is this?
Oh, that's Liam. That's Liam, a good friend of mine, who happened to come up to me and say, "Are you from the Irish NFL show?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." So we got on like a house on fire. That photograph up again for me.
I was going to say, you're looking very snazzy there, Brian.
Oh, well, thanks very much, Michael. I appreciate the nice gesture. It's actually Colin in particular I'm more focused on. See, whilst it did turn out to be a very, very nice day and the weather was quite mild, at that stage of the morning, it wasn't. And Colin looks like a man with gritted teeth there that's actually freezing his left leg off, shall we say.
Yeah, you mentioned the Bengals fans kind of have it to throw back at people. Look at Jamar Chase, and he's been doing great. And yeah, there's stats to beat the band. 450 receiving yards, the most for a rookie since Randy Moss, and that's a good company to be in. But it's going to take one offensive line moment and one injury to Joe Burrow, and that franchise is in serious trouble.
And last but no means least, Mark Cockerell. Can I, folks, just first of all, gentlemen, can we get a Duval?
Duval! Here in Duval!
Yeah! Mr. Cockerell, Mark, welcome in, my friend. You're here, you've made it. Duval?
David Duval, who played golf.
Jaguars! Duval. The man genuinely had no idea who I was or what I was saying. Coach, you've enjoyed some fantastic crowds in college football. What were the fans like in the UK and Europe and Tottenham Hotspur today?
I'm sorry.
How did you enjoy the fans today? Yeah.
It's the layers ahead of the game, isn't it?
From Soldier Field in Chicago. Colin, how are you? Good?
Very well, yeah. Live from Soldier Field.
It's not uncommon, and but if you'll have to come back, and you got extra tour guides now to show you around the different parts of the country. Michael is up north. I can show you around Cork and Kerry.
Thank you guys for having me. This is really cool. Who would have ever thought I would be doing it? NFL Ireland, NFL UK. I mean, this is it's really cool how far the game has spread.
I'm taking the Bengals. I'm taking the Bengals, and that's why I'm taking the Rams. I'm taking the Rams to host the Bengals in SoFi Stadium in 2 weeks' time. Wouldn't it be nice to be there if that was the case?
It'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Everybody, welcome into the Irish NFL show live from Los Angeles, California. I repeat, live from SoFi Stadium right behind us. We are 24 hours away from the Cincinnati Bengals against the Los Angeles Rams in Super Bowl 56. We're a long way from North Dublin, but we started in the bunker, we're ending in SoFi. How are you?
The bunker of Donegal. I'm grand. Look, NFL fans throughout Ireland, UK, Europe, here in the States, it's on your bucket list to go to a Super Bowl.
SoFi Stadium, pretty cool. Yeah.
Whose house? It's the Rams' house. Thanks, Michael. I thought I'd represent the brand, and I'm just trying to neutralise out Column's shirt.
Sorry, can't hear you, Mark. Shirt's too loud.
Bit too loud, the column. Look, I mean, it's fantastic.
Los Angeles Rams have won Super Bowl 56, 23-20. I'm with Mark Cockerell at the minute from the show. Mark, a great game. Did you enjoy it?
Oh, Michael, how did you not enjoy a game like that?
What a Super Bowl. I do feel very bad for the Bengals. What a fantastic fan base. Delighted for Von Miller, delighted for Matthew Stafford.